Hello everybody and welcome back to Bring Your Own Popcorn, and welcome to day number 2 of the 12 Days of Christmas 2024. And in this video I will be watching for the first time and reviewing The Santa Claus 2. So last year during the 12 Days of Christmas 2023 I watched The Santa Claus for the first time, and I thought that it was a really fun film. I did have some small issues with it, which I said in my review, which you can check out on this channel, but overall I thought it was a really fun movie. And it was last year that I realised that this film has like 3 sequels and a spin-off show. So I thought for this year's 12 Days of Christmas, I would tackle the 2 sequel films. So in today's video, I'll be watching The Santa Claus 2, and in tomorrow's video, I'll be watching The Santa Claus 3. I really don't know anything about the sequels, to be honest, genuinely absolutely nothing. All I can go on is, I'm guessing Scott Calvin will be back, played by Tim Allen, and he'll be up to his usual mischief throughout these films. So without further ado, let's get Disney Plus open and get the film ready to be watched. Okay, so here we go, The Santa Claus 2. Let's read what the film's about. Scott Calvin must get married by Christmas Eve or lose his title as Santa. Okay, so he's going to be finding his Mrs. Claus. That's quite an interesting route to actually go with the movie. So yeah, I'm actually quite excited about this. I don't really know what it gets review-wise. I've not looked it up. Kind of on purpose. I like to try and form my own opinions on films. So I have no idea what this gets review-wise, but nevertheless, I am excited to check it out. So without further ado, let's watch The Santa Claus 2.
He's the greatest Santa the world has ever known.
Love what you guys do, thinking outside the box.
Thanks, Santa. You're the man.
That's why they gave me the big belly.
He's made his list and checked it twice, but he forgot to read
the single most important detail in the history of Christmas.
the fine print.
I've got to get married? Yes, it's Mrs. Claus.
Walt Disney Pictures presents Tim Allen,
I don't think there's a woman out there that doesn't want a piece of this.
The Santa Claus 2.
Okay, so I just got done watching The Santa Claus 2 for the first time, and whilst I definitely don't think it was as good as the original Santa Claus, for a sequel, it actually was pretty decent. Don't get me wrong, I don't think this was a great movie by any means. However, it was a fairly fun time and provided just what I needed from a Santa Claus sequel. Let's get right into it with the story. So I thought the story was actually a fairly interesting way for things to go. I think it was a very natural way to take this story. With the original, he became Santa Claus, and in this one, he has to find his Mrs. Claus. And I do think those aspects of the story, the love story in this movie, is actually handled very well. However, there is also a lot of dumb stuff in this film that it did not gel with me at all. Just didn't click with me, and I just found it incredibly irritating. There's a whole subplot with the lead elves making a toy Santa to run the workshop whilst he's away trying to find a Mrs. Claus, and it is maybe some of the dumbest stuff I've ever seen in a movie ever, and it just does not work. I do think Tim Allen can be funny, but when he is not funny, he comes across as incredibly irritating, and when he is playing the toy version of Santa Claus, he just gets on my nerves. It is just one of the most irritating performances I've ever seen. So I really am in 2 different camps here, because on one hand, I think the love story is actually really great. It feels very natural, doesn't feel rushed. It's just, especially doesn't feel rushed because they have such little time to work with. So I think they do a really good job. However, on the other side, you've got this really irritating story going on in the North Pole with this really bad performance by Tim Allen. There are a couple of other really interesting parts about this film. For example, all like the key holiday characters, I guess you could say, are in this kind of club. So you've got like the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny and Mr. Sleep, like the Sandman, the guy who puts sand in people's eyes when they sleep. They are all in this kind of club thing where they have annual meetings. I think that was a really interesting thing to way to take things. However, they don't actually do an awful lot with it. They're in the movie very little, and yeah, I just wish they explored this a little bit more. I do think the film was fairly cliche. It repeats plot points that you've probably seen in a dozen Christmas films, but it's kind of what I expect from a Santa Claus sequel, if I'm being honest. In terms of performances, yeah, it's a real mixed bag here. Tim Allen, as I already said, I do quite like him, and when he is just playing Scott Calvin, when he's playing his usual Santa Claus self, he is really good. However, you've got this other version of Santa Claus that he's playing that is just so incredibly irritating. In terms of supporting cast, I think they are pretty good. The love interest in the film is really good in her role. I can't remember her actress name off the top of my head, but she's really fantastic in the role, I thought. She does a good job at portraying this person who is quite grumpy around the holidays, but she finally finds happiness, and I really like that about her performance. And yeah, the full supporting cast is pretty decent. The kid who plays his son is back, albeit a bit older, and he's very good in the movie. All the elves, especially Bernard. Bernard is the top dog. I absolutely love Bernard. All the elves, the ones that have speaking roles anyway, do a very good job, I thought. It's just Tim Allen, man, in that really bad toy Santa Claus role. Oh, I just hate it. If he was out the film, I would actually be recommending this a lot more. But it's just so, just grates me in all the wrong ways. In terms of directing, I will say the film doesn't look the best. The effects are so incredibly cheesy, and I guess you could say this was done on a low budget, but they look like just no effort has been put into them whatsoever. I thought the effects in the original Santa Claus were bad, but they took a massive downgrade here. The film also almost plays as a kind of straight-to-DVD sequel, but I'm pretty sure this and the third one got a theatrical release. In terms of just the direction of normal scenes, they are fairly nice. They're nothing special, but they are fairly nice. But when there's an effect, whenever there's a CGI effect, it looks abysmal. Even the reindeers talking, they kind of try to go for a practical kind of effect, and even that looks terrible. And I'm normally a big fan of practical effects, but it just looks creepy in my opinion. However, all that being said, I did still have a good deal of fun with the Santa Claus 2. It really was not an amazing film, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend it is a masterpiece in cinema and one of the greatest sequels of all time, because it's really not. But I didn't go into this expecting one of the greatest sequels of all time. For what it is, it has fun with the concept, and yeah, I kind of appreciate it for that. It is full of holiday cheer, and yeah, if you need something to throw on at Christmas, you could do a lot worse. It's just that plot line. Whenever we're in the North Pole, the movie just becomes the most annoying thing on the planet. So if you can put up with that, you'll love the film. Out of 10, I would like to give the Santa Claus 2 a 6 out of 10. But please let me know what you think of the Santa Claus 2 down in the comments. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's just alright? I love to read your comments, and I try and respond to every single one of them. Please join me back here tomorrow on Bring Your Own Popcorn for day number 3 of the 12 Days of Christmas, where I'll be watching the final installment in the Santa Claus trilogy, The Santa Claus 3. Thank you everyone for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, turn on notifications, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.